over the 8th and 6th fret. But if you want to play it on the 2nd fret, 3rd and 5th fret, that's your option. But what I'm hearing on the tonality of the original LP, I perceive that he's playing in the 8th and 6th fret over on the 3rd string. And I like keeping it on the 3rd string because you're basically staying in consistency with what's being played on the 1st and 3rd fret on the 3rd string. Again, the emphasis is on the 3rd and 4th strings, always. So you don't want to really veer off and start playing on the 2nd string in this alternative measure. So we're going to discuss here the part that goes answer if you can. And what he's going to be playing here is a succession of 8 notes. Okay? And the way that I like to play them is I play the individual notes with my index finger, and the thumb is going to be pulsating the top string. I've got that laid out in the tablature. And that's a way that where you can really kind of dwell in or dive into his singing. Put light and attention to the singing rather than playing chords. I think when you hear the original LP, Blind Willie Johnson is playing more of chord structures, open chords. But I think it's a lot neater to emphasize the individual strings here. So the first 8 notes you will pinpoint, you will find the 8th fret and the 6th fret. The first 4 notes, let's break it down. The first 4 notes, the first note in this 4-part set is going to be on the 8th fret, 3rd string. And your right hand can be positioned like this. Your index finger is going to be ready to, is going to be nestling underneath that 3rd string and is going to be ready to strike. The thumb is going to pulsate that top string. So the first note will be a double stop. When you play a double stop is when you play 2 individual notes at the same time and not in a chord, and it's laid out on the tablature. So the thumb is gonna prick the top string and the index finger is gonna find the 8th fret, 3rd string. So your first chord will be like this. Right? And then the next note is going to be on the 6th fret, 3rd string. We're staying in that arena of the 3rd string. So the second note will be like this on the 6th fret, 3rd string. One, two. Okay. Those are the first 2 notes. 1, 2. And then you do it again, the same 2 notes. So the 3rd note will be the 8th fret again with the double stop, and then the 6th fret again. So the first 4 notes will go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And notice the thumb is playing only above the 8th fret. It will only play that double stop. That's where the accompany goes. And that's what I like to enjoy. It's more of the discipline of finger picking. That's more in the school of finger picking. You can play those first 4 notes with downstrokes as well. And that's entirely up to however you feel comfortable. You know, my approach, my emphasis is more in the finger picking tradition. But either way, whatever is comfortable for you, you can play downstrokes in those first 4 notes or not. So the next 4 notes are going to be a little bit tricky here. You're going to be moving up the neck board. So in this next 4 notes, basically it would be the 5th note in this phrase. So we're looking at 8 notes here, and we're looking at the 5th note here. We're going to start another series of 4 notes. The next 4 notes will be like this. Okay, so let's identify again. You're going to find the 3rd string, 8th fret, and you're going to play that double stop. Then you're going to go all the way to the 3rd fret, 3rd string, and just play that. You don't play the top string. And then you will play, for the 3rd note in this series, the 5th fret, 3rd string, with the double stop, the top string. And then you end on the 3rd string, 3rd fret. So those 4 notes will be like this. Or with downstrokes. Right? So the 8 notes altogether will sound like this. 8 notes. And after that 8 notes, you play the top string to end that phrase. So really there are 9 notes, but the 8 are of more of the concentration of the notes being played. So now I will sing over those notes, and it will sound like this. Answer. Let me try that again. Answer if you can. Answer if you can. Answer. Answer if you can. Answer. Answer if you can. Answer if you can. Answer if you can. Answer, answer if you can. Right? And I'll go real slow here. Answer if you can. So there's 8 notes. The 9th is going to be the open top string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 notes in all. And then he plays a series of 6 open strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Answer if you can. Answer if you can. That's how the rest of the phrase goes. Right there. So there's, the first 9 notes. Answer if you can. And then he plays 6 open strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So again, it's not that difficult, but you will receive a little bit of trouble when you try to memorize and try to identify going from the 8th to the 3rd fret. You will get kind of lost in translation. So that's something that you will have to practice with, but again, it's fairly straightforward. So next we're going to go on to this 3rd part of this riff. And this is something that I cannot really hear very well on the original LP, but my theory is that he's still sticking around in the ballpark of the 8th and 6th fret, right? And here he's going to be kind of sitting on these notes. There's a little bit more of a break in here, and he plays something like this. Well, I want somebody to tell me, want somebody to tell me, want somebody to tell me, want somebody to tell me. Well, I want somebody to tell me, well, I want somebody to tell me. Right? If you listen to the original LP, it's very difficult to understand what he's doing here, but it seems like he's still exploring the 8th and 6th fret. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify the first 5 notes here. Alright, we're going to look at the first 5 notes, and he does this kind of thing again with the 8th and 6th fret. And again, you're playing the double stop always above the 8th fret. But it'll say something like this. Well, I want somebody. Well, I want somebody. Well, I want somebody. That's going to be the first 5 notes. So it'll say like this. 8th fret will be the first note in this arrangement of 5 notes here. Then you go to the 6th fret, 3rd string. And the 3rd note is going to be the 8th fret again. There's going to be a little bit of rest when you get to this next note, the 4th note, and it's going to be back on the 6th fret. And when he gets to the 6th fret, he'll go all the way to the 3rd fret and play the double stop on the 3rd string. 3rd fret, 3rd string. Now again, I always say move to this fret. You're always going to be on the 3rd string whenever you're going to be fingering any string here. You're always going to be on the 3rd string. Right? So that first 5 notes will be like this. Well, I want somebody. Well, I want somebody. Notice the breaks that I have here. The first 3 notes are fast. Then the 4th note is like it's a regular quarter note. And then you go to the 3rd fret. Well, I want somebody. Okay, and then after you play this 3rd fret, you're just gonna play the 4th string open. Well, I want somebody, body. And then the next 3 notes will be this. Tell me. The next 4 notes will be alright. So the next 4 notes will be, well, I'll go from the beginning here. Well, I want somebody. Tell me, tell me. Okay. What you're gonna do is find the next 4 notes. So we played the first 5 notes, and the next 3 are gonna be this arrangement here. Tell me, tell me. We'll just be finding the 3rd string open, and then the 1st fret 3rd string, then the 3rd string open, and then ending with the 4th string open. Tell me. Well, I want somebody. Tell me. Or you can play it all with downstrokes. Well, I want somebody. Tell me. Well, I want somebody. Okay, so those were the first 9 notes in that arrangement. So after he plays this, tell me, he will play a series of 4 open strums, up and down. Okay, so from that beginning will be, well, I want somebody, tell me, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I want somebody, tell me, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that ends the 3rd phrase. Alright, and then we're going to look at this last section of the riff, almost there, and it's going to be coming back to the 1st and 3rd frets. Now we're getting away from the 8th and 6th and 5th frets and all of that confusion, and we're going back to the discipline of the predominant main riff. And he will say this, what about the soul of a man? That's going to be that last phrase that we're going to look at here. Okay, and it's going to be what about the soul of a man? Just a little of the soul of a man. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to look at what about the soul? We're going to look at the lyrics, what is the soul of a man? And the word what can either enter on the open string, 3rd string, or the 1st fret, 1st string. And this part, he emphasizes the strumming of this part. What about the soul of a man? Or you could play it individually. Okay, so when we say what about the soul of a man, we're going to ultimately be looking at 5 notes. Alright, so it will be like this. Your first note will be the 1st fret, 3rd string. 2nd note will be 3rd fret, 3rd string. 1st fret, 3rd string. Right, and then open, and then 1st fret, 3rd string. Alright, so we'll look at that again. What about the soul? Those are the 5 notes. What about the soul? What about the soul? Those are the 5 notes there. And the next 3 notes are going to be open. And they're going to be twice on the 3rd string, open. And then you're going to play the last note of that open on the 4th string. So all together it'll be like this. What about the soul of a man? What about the soul of a man? Or as a chord, downstrokes would be like this. What about the soul of a man? What about the soul of a man? Then he plays a series of 6 chords. 6 open strums. After that. So again, very easy component. It's just about emphasizing the individual notes on the 3rd string and putting them into application and trying to mirroring what is being conveyed in the lyrics. So it's a lot more different. It's a little bit more different than John the Revelator in that he's exercising his vocal range, introducing new notes, whereas in John the Revelator it was very just a combination of 3 notes over and over again with a lot of emphasis on the 1st and 3rd fret. The only difference between these 2 songs is you're going to be working with the 8th and 6th fret and 5th fret, rather, or all but briefly in that regard. Okay, so to this point we've covered the introduction and the main riff of the song. And before I go into the verse, we're gonna go from the beginning and just cap off everything we've learned together. So starting with the introduction, I'm gonna go here pretty slow. I'll take it from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. Well, I want somebody to tell me, just what about the soul of a man? Now I'll do it again a little bit faster, because the slower you go, it doesn't put the pieces of the puzzle together. So I'm going to go at a regular pace here. Alright, and I'm going to play this time with downstrokes rather than this individual picking, which I tend to utilize. So downstrokes, starting from the beginning, the introduction. Well, I want somebody to tell me, answer if you can. Well, I want somebody to tell me, just what about the soul of a man? I read the Bible often, I try to read it right. Is anybody here to please tell me, man ain't nothing but his mind? Well, I want somebody. Okay, and that's the rest of the song is how it plays out. But I wanted to just recap that introduction and that main verse. And now we're going to be talking about the pre-verse here in this next section. So again, is following in the same consistency as John the Revelator, utilizing the same concepts that we discussed, the emphasis on the 3rd and 4th strings. It's just that now you're incorporating the 8th and 6th frets into the melodic accompaniment and the nature of the spoken lyrics. So let's take a little break here, and we're going to discuss the verse and the break here shortly. And it's going to be a lot easier, a lot more simple. The 8th and 6th frets are going to be going away here. So let's take a little break, and we'll go over that here short. Okay, so we're going to be continuing on here. We're going to be talking about the main break here. This is like the verse of the song. And this is the part that goes, I'm going to ask the question, please answer if you can. Is anybody here to please tell me, just what about the soul of man? I want somebody. Okay, and then we'll go back to that riff that we just discussed. So we're going to be looking at this first phrase, and this is the part of the song that goes, I'm going to ask the question, I'm going to ask the question. Alright, we're going to be looking at that, and we're going to be finding here is you're going to be identifying well, before we transition into this phrase, we're gonna play the last part of "What is the soul of a man?" which will be like this: What about the soul of a man? I'm going to ask the question. Right? Before he goes into this, I'm going to ask the question, he plays a series of open chords. I'm going to ask the question. Right? So what he's going to be doing here is going to be finding the 3rd string open. He's going to be playing for the first 4 notes. Ultimately he's going to stretch out to 7 notes, but the first 4 notes will be like this. Open on the 3rd string. The next note will be the 1st fret 3rd string. Then open on the 3rd string, and then 1st fret 3rd string. I'm going to ask. And then the question, the next three notes in the 7 parts will be this: open string, 1st fret, 3rd string, and then 3rd fret, 3rd string. The question I'm going to ask. The question I'm going to ask. The question I'm going to ask. The question. Okay? Very straightforward and simple. That's a series of 7 notes in that spoken lyrics. And then after that, he's gonna play the 6 strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to ask the question. Please answer if you can. Okay, and now we're gonna be looking at this next phrase, which is pretty difficult because it's going to incorporate a pull-off combination, much like the same that you learned in John the Revelator. It's this tricky pull-off based on the 1st and 3rd fret. So in this part, we already covered I'm going to ask the question. Okay, this next part is going to be please answer if you can. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify, we're going to look at these first 5 notes before this pull-off arranges. The first note is going to be the open string on the 3rd string. Then you're going to find the 1st fret, 3rd string. Then the open string on the 3rd string. Then the 1st fret, 3rd string. Then the 3rd fret, 3rd string. And it'll be like this. Please answer if you. Please answer if you. Right? And then the next 3 notes are going to be this pull off, which will go pretty fast, and you're going to play a double stop. The pull off will sound like this. What you're going to do is you're going to find the 3rd string, 3rd fret. You're going to play the double stop. You're going to put it with your ring finger. You're going to play the top string and the 3rd string together, this double stop. Then you're going to play a pull off. You're not going to strike the string again, but you're just going to, your index finger is going to immediately follow that strike. It'll be so strike first and then pull off the 1st fret. That's how fast you gotta go. And then you will pluck the 4th string open. And then you cap it off with the top string open. See what I'm doing with the right hand? And that's something that's hard to play with the downstrokes. That's why I'm emphasizing this double stop technique and this pulling. So when you put it all together, it'll be like this. Please answer if you can. Can. That's the part where he says can. Please answer if you can. And he plays the top string open. And then he plays 4 open strums. after that. So that's the third phrase. Please answer.